Yes, we would have already completed the first two chapters. It's only three chapters we have to consider for web page design. We already completed two of them, and the first chapter was basically based on concepts, principles, and basically some information you need to know about in general for web page design. So before we get on to the new chapter, is there anything that you guys didn't understand that you weren't following on? Like, what is HTML? What are the categories? What is a website? What is a web page? What are the types of websites? You guys understand everything there up to there?
Yes, sir.
And only the persons who understand are going to say yes, and everybody else are just going to sit there and be quiet.
Sir, I don't hear you that one.
I'm asking if you guys are following on everything that we looked at so far for 6.1.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
what about 6.2 now? Do we have any difficulties with any of that? What is the layout of a web page? What is the header? What is the sidebar? What is the footer? How do we sketch our layout? How do we create bookmarks, hyperlinks? All of you okay on that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So remember the exercise that you guys would have done, should have done, exercise 1 to 7. That would have taught you how to use Microsoft Word in order to create a web page. So in those exercises, you would have learned how to add a bookmark, how to use various hyperlinks, a hyperlink to take you to a different location in the page, hyperlink to take you to a totally different page, a hyperlink to link you to another document. You would have learned all of that through these exercises. And those are things you need to remember, because remember, we have to learn how to develop web page for, well, not so much HTML, but more so for Word and your website builder. Those are the main two you need to learn for. So we already considered Word. So when you're putting your content, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but when you're developing a website for HTML and Word, you start by creating a file. So in this case here, we use a Microsoft Word. You open a blank document, and the first thing you do is to save that file. So we save the file, and the save as type, we are going to save it as webpage HTML. So that is going to be our type. So we look for a location and we paste it inside of that location. So that is your first step when it comes to creating a web page in Microsoft Word, creating a file. It is also the same step for creating HTML web page. You use a text editor. So Notepad++, that is going to be, you can use this one here. Let me close that. No. Good. So you use a text editor. You can even use Notepad. But Notepad++, that gives you more features and more tools that you can use to create your HTML. So let me see. I'm going to send a link to the software in the WhatsApp group. Apparently the WhatsApp group is where we end the class. So that is the link to the software that you can make use of to type your HTML. So it's the same process. Once again, you first open the program and you save it as an HTML. So you go to save as, you change it, you look for, and Gopal is the main one who don't even attend classes that he texts in any WhatsApp group. HTML, so hypertext markup language, notice it's here, and you save it as that file, and you save the file. So when you save the file, what actually happens is that it would create an HTML file. Notice I have two files here. This one I created with Word, and this one here I created with Notepad++ software. So that there is the first step, creating your file. Now, but notice the Microsoft Word created a folder by default for us. So inside of this folder here is where we are going to have additional files that our HTML file will have. The HTML file, this file here, that is where the markup language is going to be located. So if I check this file here, I can just drag it over. So notice, even though I don't have anything in this Word document, it's empty. If we check Notepad++, we are going to see HTML tags or codes inside of the file. So, and if you were actually to look at it inside of, say for instance, Notepad, open with Notepad, notice the difference between the two software. It's the same codes, but notice Notepad is more black and white, whereas Notepad++, that is showing you the tags. That's highlighting the tags for you. The hyperlinks are clickable, and so on. So it makes it easier for us to create and look at HTML. So that is your first step there, creating that file. The second step is to have a folder. And as mentioned, Microsoft Word created that folder by default. So for this other HTML, I would have to create this folder. So I'm going to name that new one, so that whatever additional files I want, say for instance, I want to add a picture, I want to add a video, I want to add some form of additional file. If you notice, HTML is only text. So I can't paste my image into here. I can't copy my video into here. So those additional files have to be inside of a folder. And what happens is that it gets referenced inside of the HTML. Inside here, it gets referenced. So for example, if we put a picture into the Microsoft Word and I save that, and if we look at the HTML, so notice it was modified. It wants me to reload, so I updated it, and let me see, to bio, find it. Alright, let's look for it. It's supposed to be in more down. Body, style, text, span. Look, it's here. So this here, what you see in here, image, img, tag, source, and it's telling me that doc1 underscore files, image 001.jpg, that is the image it is referencing, this image here that you see in here. So this image in the HTML, this is what it looks like. You're only referencing the name in the HTML. So in HTML, it's just text you are entering, just a bunch of codes, commands, and so on. Any other additional content will go inside of the folder. So notice the image appeared in the folder here. If I double click on it and I open it, notice we have the image here. So additional files go into your folder. Are we following so far?
Yes, sir.
Good. So that is basically it. Now the next step is basically for you to determine what you want on your web page and how you're going to design it. So for example, at the top here, I could type in hello. This is my first web page. How are you doing? And then I can format it, add some yellow background, change up the font, make it change up the font, make it bigger. And what else we can do? Make it bold to stand out more, a little bigger. Add some design. Now we can keep it black. So we have some content here on our web page, on our document that we're using for the web page. So now if you want to view the content, if you notice the file that we saved, it was saved as a HTML because HTML on your computer defaults to opening with your browser. So what's going to happen if you double click on this file, it's going to actually open a browser. Notice I'm inside of Google Chrome. It opened the browser with my web page inside of it. And that's basically it. I've just created a web page. If I had kept it blank, just creating this file here also, just creating this file was also a web page. but just that I did not have any content on the web page. So that text is a bit too small there, so I can go back into it, make it a little more bigger. So I'm going to zoom out to 100%. So this is how we're gonna supposed to show. So I'm going to drop that to that size. I'm going to save the file. Remember, every time you make a change, you got to save. And notice the website remained the same. So you got to refresh, just like a normal web page. And notice the update there. That's basically how you add content to your Word web page. So whatever you put on this Word document file, however you format it, that is how it's going to appear. So say for instance, you want to create a hyperlink. So for instance, you type click here. That's what you learned last week, how to create hyperlinks. So you could put something like click here to go to click the link below to go to Google. So make this a little smaller. Click the link below to go to Google. So you can type Google, and then we highlight that. We go to which one was it? Reference.
Insert.
Insert. Okay, good. And then we go to link, and at the bottom here we type in the link www.google.com. We click OK. So notice that is now a hyperlink. So now when we save this and we go back to our browser and we refresh, notice that updated information, and notice how we incorporated our hyperlink. So now when I click on this, it takes me to Google. Even though my page is offline, this page you can only access it if you double click on this file here. It's still connected to the internet. Hyperlinks will continue to work. So all that you would have learned about adding bookmark, hyperlink to take you to an additional document, to take you to a website, to hyperlinks to be directed to a bookmark, take you to a new document, to an email, or even editing. So if you wanted to add an email, it's going to be basically what we've done so far. So for instance, persons can do email, and they can put Google email, and then we go back to link, and we go to email address, and we type in the email. So that's going to be whatever at gmail.com. Okay, so that there now is a link to a Google email. We save, we refresh, and we have a link here to take us to Google email. Now you're not going to see it, but on my other screen, let me snip it. I just realized you can do that. Give me a second. So click that. Okay, apparently that's not going to work. Click that and screenshot. Let me see if I find the image. Pictures. Pull that to the side. Screenshots. Where is the last screenshot? Oh, found it. So this is what appeared on my other screen. So when I clicked on that Google email link, this here appeared on the other screen because it detected it as an email. So what it's asking me here now, how do I want to open that email? Do I want to use the mail software? Do I want to use a browser or some other software? So you would usually get that when you click on a link that has an email as a hyperlink. Good. So that is why we would have learned about all of those features in Microsoft Word so that you can incorporate it into your Word and have a website. All right, any questions before we move on?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right. Good. So we've completed looking at developing a website, a web page, using Microsoft Word. That's just some of the basics that CSEC wants you to know. How to create bookmarks and hyperlinks, and we've done that. So if you want to change background, it's basically adding in a background image. Does Word have a background? Does Word have a background? Watermark, page border. No, not watermark.
Sir, like page color.
Yeah, something like that. Where is that? Page color? Yes, that's what does it. So page color and effect. So you should be able to here to add a certain background through this here. So we try a plain background. Well, we can just do a color. So we're gonna use a light color and then change this yellow because the yellow is not matching, or we take off the color, or we can also put some color. Why is there no additional color? Alright, let's take off the color. So we have some color to our background there, and when we save and go back to our web page, we have a little more better looking website now with a nice background color. So it's all about just knowing how to edit the different features, do the different formatting, and applying the hyperlinks and bookmarks. Alright, let's see. I think if we, let me see if I can get this to work. Where's the browser? Oh, good. So this here open. Alright, so what I'm going to do, so remember I created an additional file earlier, that new one file, so we can treat that file like a different page. So in that case here, so we can see click here to go to page 2, and we have page 2. So highlight that and insert, go to link. So we want to have a existing file. So if we didn't create it, we would have to create it here, but I already created it. So existing file, new HTML. Let's see if this is gonna work. So I'm gonna save this, refresh. So if I click on this, notice it took me to that HTML file, this HTML1 file. So that's like having another page on your website. So if I had content here, I can actually add, let me close this off. And let me drag this here. And let me copy everything and put it over here, save. So that is page 2 there. So even though it looks the same, we're still on another sheet here. So this is the home page, and this is going to be page 2 here. So that's how you can incorporate that feature that you learned, how to add a file. That can be your second page, or any other pages that you might have. So if you notice, this is basically the structure of how you would have your web pages when you're creating web pages. Your HTML file is the page. These are the individual pages, and whatever additional files those HTML files require, you would put them inside of a folder. It doesn't have to be separate folders. It can all be one folder, and it would reference whatever is inside of those folders. Alright, quick question. Let me see if anybody can get this here. If you notice that I'm opening, let me close it. So I'm opening new one HTML, and remember I said additional files like pictures would usually be in the folder. But if you notice, that image is not inside of this folder. Anybody want to make an attempt as to why?
Sir, because it was already registered into the HTML.
You're partly correct. The answer can be, you can get the answer if you think back to how did I create this web page? What did I do to create it? And that can give you an idea as to the answer. I might have two files. How did I create this one here? Remember I have a doc one and a new one. What did I do to get this new one file? To get all the content inside of it? Didn't I copy and paste the content? Didn't I copy from doc one and paste it over into new one? You guys saw me do that, right? Or you weren't paying attention to that? So what happened was that when I copied over, remember I copied everything. So the location of the image, it copied it as the location as it was in document 1, which would be this folder here. So that is why you won't see anything in this folder, in this new one folder, because it is using all the resources from this folder here. So what I'm trying to get at is that you can use one folder for all of your content, and you have to be careful also with copy and pasting, because what was happening in one HTML in terms of the codes and the tags would reflect over the same way into the new HTML. Alright, so I think that is it for Word. What we can actually do now, because oh, this is not a lot of content, so let's look at that. because I still have to prepare the HTML. So we're going to finish off this chapter, and the next class, the next class is actually about HTML. Okay, that's good. The exercise is about HTML. Okay, good. So that's going to tie in there. So let's start this chapter. And in this chapter, we're actually going to be looking at website builders and then concluding with HTML. So to get us started, let me see. Who was the last person? Record. So that's going to be record. Alright, so let's get started. So the first paragraph, let's start from the center. Let's see. Gopal, can you read for us?
There are many online web builders available to assist users with creating their websites and web pages. While a word processor can create a basic set of web pages and connect them via hyperlinks, the syllabus also recommends a few web builders such as webnode.com, weblead.com, and wix.com.
Good. So you guys just saw me using a word processor, Microsoft Word, to create a web page, to link pages together using hyperlinks. But a more technical or more advanced method of building websites is using the websites builder or the web builders. So I would have already showed you some examples: Webnode, Weebly, and Wix. So if you also search for list of website builders, you're gonna have to see there's a whole bunch of them: Weebly, Wix, Webs, Do the One, Site Builder, Squarespace, WordPress, Yola, Google Sites. Whichever one you choose, that is up to you. So continuing, how to get started. Hitesh, you can read for us.
Most web builders require registration of the user's email address and password, along with an initial name for the website before you can start to create any web pages. Once you have registered, you need to select the type of website that you wish to create. For example, will your website be one for personal use or business? Once you have made your selection, the web builder could filter some website templates for you to preview and select one that will be used to create your content.
Good. So if you guys can remember, when we were actually starting this chapter, I actually showed you how we go through that entire process. You register, you give it a name, you tell them what is the purpose of your website, what type you're creating, and then they would give you a bunch of templates that you can choose from based on the type of website that you have. So that's why I said to when you guys are going to work on a website, you have to be careful with registering, because if you're going to want your partners to work on the website, you will need to share that email and password. So I would recommend that you create a default email and password for you to share it among your members so that they can log in and do any work on it as they need to. So here we have some examples of some templates that they might give you. So adding content to the website now. Let's see. It is Jomani. Can you read for us? Adding content.
Now that you have chosen your overall template, You can use the options available to browse and add a ba- and add a background image. What?
At the top here.
Other web page designs that are suitable for your website concept. Some designs may contain columns, graphics, or contact information, while other may contain section for graphics or videos. The sample the sample designs contain random text and pictures for you to preview your web page. However, the web builder also includes options to change your font type, font sizes, and text alignment. Add your own graphics, pictures, or video, and edit the background color or upload a background image. Added features such as integration of Google Maps to navigate to the location of your business, a contact form, or subscription page are available for visitors to receive updated information. If you're not sure of the order or layout of your web pages, most web builders allow you to rearrange them using drag and drop options. Lastly, there are options to add a logo, special slogan, or social media icons to personalize your webpage.
Good. So you would have selected a template that you're going to use for your website. Now let me go back to Wix. So when you click on the option to create a website, it would give you the page to type in the purpose of your website. So online store, and then edit a template, and it's going to give you a bunch of templates that you can choose from, so you can view them and see if it has the overall layout that you want, because it's going to give you a layout to position your different content. You're going to give you columns, you're going to give you graphic sections, sections to put your video, sections to put information, sections to put your pictures, whatever you need to put. Is going to give you different areas to put them. So what you should do is to first look at the templates and see which has a layout that you are going to be interested in, that would be suitable to your website. Because even though you can rearrange it, you can rearrange a template, it's more better to look for one that is already close to what you want, and that way you can make any fine changes that you need later on, instead of making a whole drastic change to the overall layout. So choose a template that is suitable to you, that would fit the overall design, and you work from that. So in the website builders, you can basically change anything. You can change the font, the size, the alignment, any content, any background color, background image, and there are even options to add additional features. You can even add location maps, contact forms, subscription page. Those are all services that are available to you. Now, as I mentioned, you can rearrange the website. That is up to you. But once again, try to find a template that is as close as possible to what you want, and then you make any fine changes to it. You can add logo. You have to add a logo to your website, a slogan. Basically, you have to add the letterhead that you would have created in your Word SBA. So it has to be somewhat similar, not exactly similar, because in some cases you might not be able to get it similar, but you try your best to do so. Alright, are you guys following so far?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Alright, so finalizing your web page. Jasmine, could you read for us? Jasmine? Jonathan?
You're finalizing the web
Yes.
page. Before publishing your web pages on the internet, you should preview the checklist to test your website. Make sure that all the headings, links, images, font colors, and so on complement the purpose of your website and are not too dark, too small when previewed. Click on each hyperlink to make sure that it directs you to the correct web page. Check that any animations, videos, or songs play as they should. Check the email addresses are valid and working. Check for orphan pages. These are pages that contain no links back up to the previous web page or to the home page. Sometimes the only way to go to the previous page is to use a back button, but this does not always work. Check out Check that the page titles on each web page are sensible and not too wordy. Page titles are important since they appear in search engine results and in browser bookmarks. Since you do not know your visitors will access your website, you should also preview it using a mobile device to see how it looks. Can you view the content easily? Is the design suitable for this small viewing window? Once you are satisfied, all links and web pages are functioning, you are ready to publish your website. Most web builders use a single click to publish your website. However, you can continue to update content and features as necessary.
Good. So after you would have selected your template, you made your necessary designs, you basically now have to preview your web page. So I would have shown you guys that. This is the no, that's not it. Right, so this is basically what you get when you go into editing the web page. So if you notice, they would give you a preview option, and that preview option is going to make it appear as though you are accessing it through a normal browser. So you can test how your links are working, how your content looks, how your navigational link works, and so on, how everything is functioning. And you can even check a mobile view to ensure that your customers that are logging in on their phones, they can see the content properly. And then when you're finished, you publish your content. So notice there was a publish option. Skip. There's a publish option here. So when you click on this here, other persons will now be able to see your website. You take this link here. This is now the link to your website. So if you guys actually type in this link, you will be able to see my website. If you want to take it down, there should be an option somewhere to basically take down the website in case you, say for instance, you want to make some changes and so on to the website. Site actions. Let's Let's see, refresh. It should already be published. So say for instance you want to take it down. Get feedback, duplicate, transfer, site, invite. Yeah, there should be an option somewhere that would allow you to basically take it down, but it would be somewhere. Either way, so going back to our notes. So basically, when you finish with your website, these are some basic rules that you should follow so that you ensure your website is ready for you to be published. Ensure you have the correct links, you have the correct headings, they're all working, everything looks good to complement the website. Hyperlinks are all working, videos and animation are playing properly, email address is working. You don't have an orphan page. This is a very important term to remember. An orphan page. So just like an orphan where you leave, a child basically has nowhere to go, it has no parents. So similarly, a orphan page has nowhere to go. It is basically by itself. So that's what I was talking about at one of the previous classes, that you don't want a page whereby when you click on something, like for example my website here, this website here, this is an orphan page. This is an exact example of an orphan page. Even though I click on 2, I'm gonna still be on this page all the time. There's no option to go back to the home page except for this back button here. That would take me back to that page. So we do not want this. That's why it's important for you to have navigational links that can help you to navigate to different pages on your website. Ensure that your page titles are correct. And basically ensure that the mobile version of your website is appropriate. And once you're satisfied with everything, how it looks, how everything works, then you basically have a website that you can publish now. Any questions?
No, sir.
All right, so these questions here, do it for your homework. We're going to review it in next week class. And the exercises also, do them for your homework. We are going to review it in next week's class also. So next week, we are going to look at how to create a web page using HTML now. Alright, so in revision of what we looked at today, well, we looked at creating a web page using Word. In addition to Word, we can use web builders to create websites. Common ones, WebNode, Weebly, and Wix. So use a website builder. You would need to register to that website. So you need an email and password. And you would give that website a title, state what is the type of that website, and you choose a template. Then from that point, you start adding all your content, making your necessary changes, adding all your features, and then you finalize your web page by basically ensuring everything works. All of your hyperlink, all of your content looks good, everything is working, everything is playing, everything is presentable, looks professional, you can read everything, and then you publish your content, your web page. Alright, so let me. Alright, I guess we can talk about it in the next class. So I was gonna give you guys your SBA, but we're gonna look at the questions first, and then the exercise next week, and then we're gonna look at the web page SVA. So next week we're actually gonna be starting that SVA. Alright, so ensure you guys do this for your homework. If you guys don't have any questions, we are going to end here for today.